Rejected at the door of a luxury boutique, an elegant silver-haired woman walks away with her dignity intact, but her heart bruised. Little does anyone know that this simple moment of dismissal will soon trigger a chain reaction that reaches from Manhattan penthouses to remote villages across the globe. When her son, one of the world's most powerful men, discovers what happened, his response isn't what anyone expects. It's not revenge he seeks, but something far more revolutionary. What unfolds next will challenge our very understanding of worth, value, and the unexpected places where transformation begins. The autumn wind whipped down Fifth Avenue, sending fallen leaves dancing around Maria Grayson's ankles as she approached the gleaming storefront of Lux Eternelle. At 74, Maria carried herself with the poise of someone who had weathered life's storms and emerged stronger. Her silver hair was styled in a simple but elegant bob, and her blue eyes still sparkled with the same determination that had helped her raise 3 children on her own. Today was special. Her granddaughter Lily was graduating from medical school next week, and Maria wanted to find the perfect gift without any help from her famous son. Just once, she wanted to do something extraordinary with her own resources. Maria paused to straighten her cream-colored blazer before climbing the 3 marble steps to the store's entrance. The doorman, a tall man with broad shoulders and a stern expression, stepped forward as she reached for the brass handle. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said, his voice polite but firm. "Lux Eternelle is open by invitation only today." Maria blinked. "Invitation? I wasn't aware. I just wanted to purchase a graduation gift for my granddaughter." The doorman's eyes flicked over her, taking in her sensible shoes, simple pearl earrings, and the slightly outdated handbag. His expression didn't change, but something in his stance hardened. "It's a private event for our premium clientele," he explained. "Perhaps you could come back tomorrow? Or try our website." A flush crept up Maria's neck. She had dressed carefully. Today, in clothes that were modest but good quality. She'd even worn the cashmere scarf Elias had given her for her birthday. But standing before this young man, she suddenly felt every bit her age. And somehow, less. "I see," she said quietly. "And how does one become premium clientele?" The doorman shifted uncomfortably. "Our relationship managers extend invitations based on purchase history." Through the glass doors, Maria could see women in designer outfits browsing displays of handbags and jewelry. Some looked no more premium than she did, at least to her eyes. She could have said something then. She could have mentioned that her son was Elias Grayson, the tech billionaire whose innovations were changing the world. One phone call from her would have the store manager rolling out a red carpet. But that wasn't who Maria was. "Thank you for explaining," she said instead, her voice steady despite the knot forming in her throat. "I'll try again another time." As she turned to leave, a young woman with dark curly hair and warm brown eyes appeared beside the doorman. Her name tag read Zara, and she wore the black uniform of the store's sales staff. "Is everything all right, Thomas?" she asked, glancing between him and Maria. "This lady was just leaving," Thomas replied. "I explained about our private event today." Zara's eyes met Maria's, and something like recognition flickered across her face. She opened her mouth as if to say something, then closed it again. Maria didn't wait to see what would happen next. Head held high, she descended the steps and walked away. Each click of her heels against the sidewalk matching the pounding of her heart. She had faced harder things in life than being turned away from a fancy store. Much harder things. She had raised 3 children after her husband left, worked 3 jobs at once to put food on the table, and later battled cancer while supporting Elias through his first rocky business ventures. A snobby doorman was nothing compared to all that. So why did tears prick at her eyes as she hurried down the street? It wasn't about the store, she realized as she waited at a crosswalk. It was about wanting, just once, to do something special, without relying on her son's name or money, to be seen as worthy in her own right. Behind her, someone called out, "Ma'am, excuse me." Maria kept walking, assuming the voice wasn't meant for her. She ducked into a small park, finding an empty bench where she could compose herself before heading home. The truth was, she had saved for months to afford something from Lux Eternel. The store was known for its exquisite craftsmanship and timeless pieces. She had wanted to give Lily something she could keep forever, something that symbolized the pride Maria felt watching her granddaughter follow her dream of becoming a doctor. Now she would have to find something else, something less perfect but given with just as much love. A group of tourists passed by, one of them filming the picturesque park with his phone. Maria turned her face away, not wanting to be captured. In a stranger's vacation, memories with tears in her eyes. She pulled out her phone, thinking to call her daughter for lunch instead. The screen showed 3 missed calls from Elias. He was probably checking if she'd arrived safely in New York. She would call him back later, when her voice wouldn't betray her disappointment. As Maria put her phone away, she didn't notice the tourist's camera had briefly pointed in her direction. She didn't see Zara from the store standing at the park entrance, searching the scattered benches. And she certainly had no idea that in just a few hours, her quiet dignity in the face of rejection would spark something much bigger than a simple shopping trip. Instead, she took a deep breath of the crisp autumn air, squared her shoulders, and stood up. There were other stores in New York. She wouldn't let one rejection ruin her day or diminish her excitement for Lily's graduation. Maria Grayson had built her life on looking forward, not back, on finding solutions, not dwelling on problems. Elias might have inherited his innovative mind from her after all. With renewed determination, she left the park and hailed a taxi. "Brookfield Place, please," she told the driver, thinking of another store she had seen mentioned in a magazine. As the taxi pulled away from the curb, Maria didn't look back at Lux Eternel. She had no way of knowing that by this time tomorrow, her name would be on everyone's lips inside that very store, or that her quiet exit would soon set in motion events that would change not just the store's future, but also her own. Zara Okafor stood at the park entrance, scanning the scattered benches for the silver-haired woman. She'd slipped away from Lux Eternel the moment her manager was distracted, determined to find the woman Thomas had turned away. She couldn't have gone far, Zara muttered to herself, clutching the store's business card in her hand. Then she spotted a taxi pulling away. From the curb, through the back window, she caught a glimpse of that distinctive silver bob. Too late. Zara's shoulders slumped as she watched the taxi disappear into traffic. She had recognized the woman immediately, though it had taken her a moment to place her. Maria Grayson, mother of Elias Grayson. Zara had read a profile about her in Business Weekly just last month, a piece about the women behind successful tech entrepreneurs. What would Mrs. Grayson think about Lux Eternel now? Zara cringed, imagining the woman telling her famous son about how she'd been treated. Not that it should matter who she was related to. No one deserved to be judged by their appearance. Defeated, Zara turned to head back to the store when her phone buzzed. It was a notification from her social media feed. Billionaire's mother turned away at luxury store. Watch now. Her heart sank. The headline was accompanied by a short video clip. With trembling fingers, Zara pressed play. The footage was shaky, but clear enough. It showed Thomas blocking the door, Mariah's dignified response, and her quiet exit. The video had been posted just 15 minutes ago and already had thousands of views. "Oh no," Zara whispered. She hurried back to Lux Eternel, where nothing seemed amiss yet. The private event continued, wealthy clients sipping champagne as they examined this season's new arrivals. Thomas stood at his post, unaware that his actions were going viral. Zara slipped back inside, her mind racing. Should she tell her manager? Would that make things better or worse? Before she could decide, her phone buzzed again with another notification. The same video, now shared by a popular news account with millions of followers. She was still staring at her phone when Victoria Wells, the store director, emerged from her office with a thunderous expression. "Zara, my office now." Victoria's office was a study in minimalist luxury, all clean lines and muted colors. The store director paced behind her desk, her Louboutins clicking against the hardwood floor. "Tell me exactly what happened," she demanded, turning her screen to show. The video, which now had a headline screaming, "Watch, Elias Grayson's mother humiliated at luxury boutique." Zara swallowed hard. Thomas told her the store was invitation only today. I recognized her as she was leaving, but she left before I could say anything. I tried to follow her to apologize, but she was gone. Victoria pinched the bridge of her nose. "Do you have any idea what this could do to us? Elias Grayson has 30 million followers. If he decides to share this..." "I don't think Mrs. Grayson is the type to complain," Zara offered. "In that magazine profile, they said she never uses her son's name to get special treatment." "Small comfort," Victoria muttered. "Get back on the floor. Not a word about this to anyone. I need to call our PR team." For the rest of her shift, Zara moved through the store in a daze. She helped clients, wrapped purchases, and smiled politely, all while the video continued spreading online. By closing time, it had been viewed over 2 million times. As she gathered her things to leave, Victoria appeared beside her. "We need to fix this," the director said quietly. "I want you to find her." "Me?" Zara blinked in surprise. "You recognized her. You wanted to help. You're the only one who comes out of this looking decent. Find her, apologize. Invite her for a private shopping experience." Victoria pressed an envelope into Zara's hand. "Give her this. It's a personal invitation and a gift card." Zara stared at the envelope. "How am I supposed to find her?" "Figure it out," Victoria snapped. "That's your only assignment tomorrow. Find Maria Grayson." The next morning, Zara stood outside the Peninsula Hotel, where she guessed Maria might be staying. It was a shot in the dark, but the magazine had mentioned it was where the Grayson family usually stayed when in New York. She'd been waiting for nearly an hour when a familiar figure emerged through the revolving doors. Maria Grayson, dressed in a simple blue dress, her silver hair catching the morning light. Zara's heart pounded as she approached. "Mrs. Grayson?" Maria turned, surprise flashing across her face. "Yes? My name is Zara Okafor. I work at Lux Eternel. I wanted to apologize for yesterday. What happened was unacceptable." Maria studied her. "You're the young woman who appeared at the door." Zara nodded, feeling her cheeks warm. "I recognized you, but you left before I could say anything. I tried to follow you." A small smile touched Maria's lips. "That was kind of you." "I wanted to give you this." Zara held out the envelope. "And to personally invite you back to the store. Thomas won't be there today," she added. Maria made no move to take the envelope. "Dear, I appreciate the gesture, but it isn't necessary. These things happen." "Please," Zara persisted. "It would mean a lot to me." Something in her tone must have reached Maria, because her expression softened. "Why do you care so much?" The question caught Zara off guard. Because what happened wasn't right. And because you reminded me of my own grandmother. She taught me that how you treat people matters more than what they can do for you. Maria's eyes crinkled at the corners as she smiled. "Your grandmother sounds wise." "She was," Zara said softly. After a moment, Maria took the envelope and tucked it into her purse. "Thank you, Zara. I'll think about it." As Maria walked away, neither woman noticed the hotel doorman who had captured their entire exchange on his phone. By noon, this second video would be spreading online too, the young store employee tracking down the billionaire's mother to make amends. The story was just beginning. Elias Grayson stood at the center of a massive glass-walled conference room, surrounded by engineers, designers, and executives. At 52, he cut an impressive figure, tall and lean with salt and pepper hair that he never seemed to have time to cut. Decades of relentless work had etched fine lines around his eyes, but those eyes still burned with the same intensity that had transformed a garage startup into a global tech empire. The new solar panels need to be 20% more efficient and 30% cheaper, he was saying, his finger tapping rapidly on the digital display. Otherwise, we're just creating another luxury product that most of the world can't afford. A nervous-looking engineer raised his hand. "But sir, the current technology can't—" "The current technology is the problem," Elias cut in. "We need to think differently. When I come back next week, I want 3 new approaches on my desk." His chief operating officer, Joaquin Reyes, caught his eye and tapped his watch. Elias nodded. "That's all for today. Let's change the world again tomorrow." As the room emptied, Joaquin approached. They had been friends since middle school, long before billions and world-changing innovations. "Your mother's been calling," Joaquin said quietly. 3 times in the last hour. Elias frowned. Maria never called during business hours unless it was important. He pulled out his phone and saw the missed calls. He was about to return them when his assistant, Lynn, burst through the door. "Sir, you need to see this," she said, thrusting her tablet toward him. On the screen was a video of his mother being turned away from a luxury store. The headline read, "Billionaire's mother rejected. Watch what happens next." Elias went very still, his eyes fixed on the screen as he watched his mother, the woman who had sold her wedding ring to buy him his first computer, who had worked until her hands were raw to keep a roof over his head, being judged and dismissed. "There's more," Lynn said, swiping to another video. This one showed a young woman from the store tracking down his mother at her hotel to apologize. The comments below the videos ranged from outrage at the store to admiration for both his mother's dignity and the young employee's integrity. "It's everywhere," Lynn added. "All the news sites are picking it up." Elias's jaw tightened. "Get my mother on the phone. Now!" 2 minutes later, Maria's voice came through the speaker. "Elias, dear, I was just about to call you again." "Mom, I saw the videos. Why didn't you tell me what happened?" There was a pause. "It wasn't important. Just a misunderstanding." "Not important?" Elias's voice rose. "They treated you like you were nothing. Like you weren't good enough for their precious store." "Elias," Maria's voice was calm but firm. "I'm 74 years old. I've been judged and underestimated my whole life. One rude doorman isn't going to break me." "That's not the point," Elias insisted. "They need to be held accountable." "No, they don't," Maria replied. "The young woman, Zara, she came to find me this morning. She was genuinely sorry." One decent employee doesn't excuse the store's culture, Maria sighed. Please, don't make a fuss. It's exactly what I don't want. To be known only as Elias Grayson's mother, who gets special treatment. But Elias was barely listening, his mind already racing with possibilities. I'll call you later, Mom. I love you. After hanging up, he turned to Joaquin and Lynn. Cancel my meetings for the rest of the day. For the next 3 hours, Elias remained locked in his office. Outside, speculation ran wild. Was he planning to buy the store and fire everyone? Would he publicly shame them? Use his influence to drive away their customers? When he finally emerged, there was a calm determination in his eyes that those who knew him recognized as dangerous. I need the following information, he told Lynn. The name of the store's owner, their annual revenue, their customer demographics, and everything we can find about their corporate values, stated and actual. Lynn nodded, already typing notes. And find out everything you can about that sales associate, Zara. Are you going to destroy them? Joaquin asked when they were alone. Because that's not what your mother wants. Elias's expression softened slightly. Do you remember what my mom did when those kids stole my science project in 8th grade? Joaquin smiled. She didn't get them suspended like the other parents wanted. She made them work with you on the next one. And it won first place, Elias added. Mom always understood that revenge doesn't teach anything. He moved to the window, looking out at the city below. This isn't about revenge. It's about something bigger. By evening, Lynn had compiled a comprehensive report. Lux Eternel was owned by a French conglomerate. Their business model was built entirely on exclusivity and artificial scarcity. Their stated values included excellence and heritage, but nowhere did their materials mention respect or inclusivity. As for Zara Okafor, she was 28, had worked at the store for 3 years, and volunteered teaching art to kids in underserved communities on weekends. Before Lux Eternel, she had worked her way through design school. She looks promising, Elias murmured. When Joaquin returned to check on him at 9 that night, he found Elias surrounded by digital displays filled with diagrams, market research, and financial projections. I know that look, Joaquin said. You've got a plan. Elias grinned. The same boyish grin that had gotten them both in and out of trouble as teenagers. Not just a plan, a revolution. He flicked his wrist, sending the contents of one screen onto the main wall display. It showed a concept for a new kind of luxury brand, one that married high-end craftsmanship with tangible social impact. Lux Eternal rejected my mother because she didn't fit their narrow definition of value, Elias said. So we're going to redefine value itself. Joaquin studied the display, his expression thoughtful. This is bigger than one store. Exactly, Elias replied. This isn't about teaching one company a lesson. It's about changing the entire conversation. He pulled up another screen showing the foundation Joaquin ran, which provided tech education to underprivileged youth. Your foundation will be key to this. Are you in? Joaquin nodded slowly. I'm in. But what about your mother? She specifically asked you not to make a fuss. Elias's eyes gleamed with that familiar intensity that had launched 1,000 innovations. Trust me, he said. This is going to be so much better than a fuss. Morning light streamed through the windows of Elias's penthouse as he poured coffee for Joaquin. The space was surprisingly modest for a billionaire, functional and comfortable rather than ostentatious. The only luxury was the view, a breathtaking panorama of the city skyline. Your PR team is having a meltdown, Joaquin said, scrolling through messages on his phone. They want to release a statement about the store incident. Elias handed him a steaming mug. Tell them to do nothing. Nothing? Joaquin raised an eyebrow. Best moves are the ones no one sees coming. Elias walked to a digital whiteboard that dominated one wall. With a gesture, he brought up images of sleek devices that resembled luxury items. Watches, jewelry, handbags, but with technical specifications beside them. These are the prototypes from our sustainability lab, he explained. Solar cells disguised as designer accessories, water filtration systems that look like art pieces, educational tools masked as luxury goods. Joaquin moved closer to examine the images. I've seen some of these. Brilliant engineering, but you shelved them because they were too expensive for mass production. Exactly. Elias tapped one image, expanding it to show a bracelet. This contains enough technology to provide clean water to a family for 5 years, but it costs too much to make it scale. What does this have to do with Lux Eternel? Elias's eyes gleamed. What if luxury wasn't just about exclusivity? What if each purchase had real impact beyond status? We pair each luxury item with a functional equivalent for communities in need. Understanding dawned on Joaquin's face. Buy a $5,000 bracelet. Fund water purification for a village. Not fund it. Be it, Elias corrected. The luxury item and the functional item are the same design, just different materials and finishes. Joaquin whistled. That's actually brilliant. But how do we get Lux Eternel on board? We give them a choice, Elias said simply. A very public choice. He pulled up another screen showing a roster of names. The entire staff of Lux Eternel, from the CEO to the cleaning crew. We're going to invite them all to a special event. Not just the management, everyone. Joaquin frowned. Won't they think it's an ambush? Perhaps, Elias smiled. That's part of the plan. Just then, Elias's phone buzzed. It was a message from Lynn. Victoria Wells, director of Lux Eternel, calling. Third attempt this morning. Urgent. They're panicking, Elias noted, showing Joaquin the message. Of course they are. Your mother's rejection is trending on every platform. Their mentions are probably a nightmare. Elias nodded. Good. Let them sweat a bit longer. He sent a quick message back to Lynn. No calls from anyone at Lux Eternel until further notice. Turning back to Joaquin, he said, I need your foundation's expertise for this to work. The educational component is crucial. My team will drop everything, Joaquin promised. Just tell me what you need. For the next hour, they refined the plan. It wasn't about humiliating Lux Eternel or forcing an apology. It was about offering them a path to real transformation, a chance to pioneer a new kind of luxury that married exclusivity with impact. What about the invitations? Joaquin asked. Electronic would be faster. Elias shook his head. No, handwritten, delivered personally. I want each employee to feel specifically chosen. That's over 100 invitations. Then we better start writing, Elias replied, already pulling out stationery. And I want Zara's invitation to be special. As they worked, Elias's phone continued to buzz with messages from his executive team, his PR department, and journalists seeking comment. He ignored them all. This wasn't a corporate strategy. It was personal. By afternoon, Lynn arrived with the final list of Lux Eternel employees and their addresses. Sir, she said hesitantly, the board is asking for a statement. This story is affecting our stock price. Elias looked up from the invitation he was writing. Tell them I'm handling it personally. That's what they're afraid of, Lynn muttered. but nodded and left. As evening fell, Elias finished the last invitation, Victoria Wells's. Unlike the others, hers included a private note. "Your store rejected my mother. Now I invite you to something you can't afford to refuse." "Isn't that a bit dramatic?" Joaquin asked, reading over his shoulder. "It needs to be," Elias replied. "Victoria Wells is the kind of person who only responds to power plays." He sealed the envelope and added it to the stack. Tomorrow, these invitations would be hand-delivered to every Lux Eternel employee. Some would be curious, others apprehensive. Victoria would be terrified, but none of them would expect what Elias had planned. "What about your mother?" Joaquin asked as they surveyed their handiwork. "She asked you not to make a fuss." Elias smiled, a softer expression than his usual intensity. "Mom taught me that the best response to cruelty is not more cruelty, but creative kindness." He picked up his phone. "I'm calling her now. This won't work without her." 3 days later, Zara arrived at Lux Eternel to find the store in chaos. Employees huddled in small groups, whispering urgently. Victoria Wells paced back and forth in her office, visible through the glass walls, her face pale. "What's happening?" Zara asked May, another sales associate. May's eyes were wide. "You haven't heard? Elias Grayson sent invitations to every single employee. Every single one." "Invitations to what?" May pulled an envelope from her bag. It was heavy cream stationery, with Grayson Technologies embossed in silver on the front. Inside was a handwritten invitation to an exclusive event at Grayson headquarters that Friday evening. "Even the weekend janitor got one," May whispered. "But the weird thing is, everyone's invitation is slightly different. Mine mentions my volunteer, work with the literacy program." Zara frowned. "How would he know about that?" "He's Elias Grayson. He probably knows what we had for breakfast." Before Zara could respond, Victoria emerged from her office. "Staff meeting, now." In the conference room, Victoria looked like she hadn't slept in days. "As you're all aware, we've received invitations from Elias Grayson. This follows the unfortunate incident with his mother." "Unfortunate incident," Thomas muttered from the back. "I was fired because of it." Victoria ignored him. "Our PR team advises treating this as a potential threat. Mr. Grayson may be planning to publicly humiliate us." "Then why would we go?" someone asked. "Because," Victoria said tightly, "declining could make things worse. Grayson has immense influence. He could damage our brand with a single social media post." Zara raised her hand. "Has anyone considered that this might actually be a positive opportunity?" "Mrs. Grayson didn't seem vengeful when I spoke with her." Victoria's gaze sharpened. "Speaking of which, Zara, did you receive an invitation?" Zara blinked in surprise. "I don't know. I came straight to work." "Check your mailbox after this meeting," Victoria instructed, "and report back to me immediately." When Zara arrived home that evening, a messenger was waiting outside her apartment building. "Zara Okafor?" he asked. She nodded, confused. "Special delivery from Elias Grayson." He handed her not an envelope, but a small box wrapped in simple silver paper. Inside her apartment, Zara carefully unwrapped it. The box contained an invitation similar to the others, but with a personal note. "Your kindness to my mother showed. Character that luxury can't buy. I'd be honored if you'd attend as my special guest. A car will pick you up at 6 p.m. on Friday. Elias Grayson." Beneath the invitation was a small silver pin shaped like a water droplet. It caught the light beautifully, but seemed oddly heavy for its size. Zara's phone rang almost immediately. It was Victoria. "Did you receive anything from Grayson?" she demanded. "Yes, an invitation like everyone else," Zara replied, deciding to keep the personal note and gift to herself. "What does it say exactly?" "Just that I'm invited to an event at Grayson Technologies on Friday evening." Victoria was silent for a moment. "Zara, I need you to do something for me. At this event, I need you to be our eyes and ears. Find out what Grayson is planning." "I don't think this isn't a request," Victoria cut in. "Your future at Lux Eternel depends on it." After hanging up, Zara stared at the silver pin. What was Elias Grayson planning? And why did he single her out? By Friday evening, speculation had reached fever pitch. News of the mass invitation had leaked to the press, with headlines asking, "Revenge or reconciliation?" Grayson summons store that rejected his mother. Zara stood in front of her apartment building in her best dress, a simple black sheath she'd saved months to afford. Right at 6 p.m., a sleek electric car pulled up. The driver stepped out and opened the door for her. "Good evening, Ms. Okafor. Mr. Grayson is looking forward to meeting you." As the car glided through the city, Zara's phone buzzed with messages from her co-workers, all heading to the same destination with varying degrees of anxiety. "May, is he going to fire us all?" "Roberto, my cousin works for the caterer. Says it's super fancy. Not exactly firing vibes." "Victoria, remember our conversation. Report anything unusual. The Grayson Technologies headquarters was a gleaming tower of sustainable architecture." As Zara approached, she saw groups of her co-workers arriving, all looking nervous but intrigued. Inside, they were directed not to a conference room or auditorium as expected, but to a beautiful garden atrium on the top floor. The space was filled with display cases containing what appeared to be luxury items, handbags, jewelry, watches, all glowing under perfect lighting. "It looks like a Lux Eternal pop-up," May whispered, appearing at Zara's side. "Is this some kind of weird power move, showing he can create a better store than ours?" Before Zara could answer, Joaquin Reyes, Elias's right-hand man and childhood friend, stepped onto a small platform. "Welcome, everyone," he said warmly. "Thank you for accepting our invitation. Mr. Grayson will join us shortly. But first, please, enjoy the refreshments and feel free to explore the displays." Victoria Wells stood rigidly near the entrance, eyes darting around as if searching for hidden cameras or microphones. When she spotted Zara, she motioned her over. "This is strange," she murmured. "No press, no social media team. What's his angle?" Zara shook her head. "Maybe there isn't one. Maybe this is genuinely about something else." Victoria's laugh was brittle. "Men like Elias Grayson don't invite their enemies to parties without a reason." A sudden hush fell over the room. Elias Grayson had entered, but he wasn't alone. Beside him, elegant in a simple blue dress, was Maria Grayson. Zara felt Victoria stiffen beside her. "Prepare for the worst," she whispered. But as Maria Grayson's eyes found Zara in the crowd, the older woman smiled and gave a small, warm wave. It wasn't the gesture of someone preparing for public humiliation. It was the greeting of someone about to unveil something wonderful. The room fell silent as Elias Grayson guided his mother through the crowd. Up close, he was less intimidating than his public image suggested. His eyes were tired but kind, his smile genuine if slightly reserved. He wore a simple black sweater and jeans rather than the power suit many had expected. "Thank you all for coming," he said, his voice carrying easily across the atrium. "I know there's been speculation about why I invited you here tonight. several Lux Eternel employees shifted uncomfortably. Victoria Wells stood rigid, her face a careful mask. "Before we begin," Elias continued, "I'd like you all to meet someone special. This is my mother, Maria Grayson." Maria stepped forward with a graceful nod. "Hello, everyone. It's lovely to meet you properly." Her eyes found Zara's again, and her smile widened. Zara felt her cheeks warm with a mixture of embarrassment and pride. "Mom insisted on being here tonight," Elias said, his hand resting gently on Maria's shoulder, "despite my initial, stronger reaction to what happened at your store." A nervous ripple of laughter moved through the crowd. At least he had a sense of humor about it. "Please, explore the displays," Elias invited. "In 15 minutes, I'll share why I've brought you all here." As the crowd dispersed toward the display cases, Maria made her way directly to Zara. "The pin looks lovely on you," she said, gesturing to the silver droplet Zara had pinned to her dress. "Thank you, Mrs. Grayson. It's beautiful." Maria leaned closer. "It's also quite special. Elias will explain soon." Before Zara could ask what she meant, Victoria appeared at her side. "Mrs. Grayson," Victoria said, her voice a careful blend of respect and contrition. "I'm Victoria Wells, Director of Lux Eternel. I want to personally apologize for your experience at our store. It was unacceptable and does not reflect our values." Maria regarded her thoughtfully. "Thank you, Ms. Wells. Though I wonder, does it truly not reflect your values? Or does it simply not reflect how you wish to be perceived?" Victoria blinked, clearly taken aback by the gentle but direct challenge. That's a fair question," she admitted. "One I've been reflecting on quite a bit lately." Maria nodded, satisfied with the honest response. "Then perhaps good can come from an uncomfortable moment." She turned back to Zara. "Would you show me some of these displays? My son has been very mysterious about them." As Maria and Zara moved away, Victoria stood alone, watching them with a mixture of confusion and calculation. Around the atrium, employees clustered around the display cases, examining what appeared to be luxury items. There were handbags with intricate designs, watches with gleaming faces, scarves with vibrant patterns, and jewelry that caught the light in mesmerizing ways. "They're beautiful," Zara said, studying a bracelet that resembled the pin she wore. "But why display luxury goods to people who sell luxury goods? It seems redundant," Maria supplied with a small smile. "Look closer." Zara leaned in, noticing something unusual about the bracelet. What she had taken for decorative elements appeared to be functional components: tiny filters, solar cells, and what looked like microprocessors, all integrated seamlessly into the design. "What is this?" she asked, fascinated. Before Maria could answer, Joaquin called for everyone's attention. Elias moved to the center of the room, standing before a large screen that had descended from the ceiling. "I imagine many of you came here tonight expecting some form of public embarrassment," he began. "A powerful man using his influence to punish those who slighted his mother. That would certainly make for a more dramatic story." He paused, his eyes scanning the room. "But that story has been told too many times. I'd like to tell a different one." The screen behind him illuminated with a black and white photograph of a much younger Mariah, holding a small boy's hand in front of a modest apartment building. "This is my mother in 1985, Elias said. "I was 10 years old. My father had left 6 months earlier, taking most of their savings with him. Mom was working 3 jobs to keep a roof over our heads. He clicked to the next image. Maria, in a waitress uniform, looking tired but determined. What you can't see in this photo is that she'd just sold her wedding ring to buy me my first computer. His voice softened. She saw something in me, a passion for technology, and she sacrificed her past to give me a future. Maria lowered her eyes, clearly uncomfortable with the attention but allowing her son this moment. The next photo is from 1999, Elias continued. The screen showed Maria in a hospital bed, with a much younger Elias sitting beside her, surrounded by printouts and an early laptop. Mom was fighting cancer. I was fighting to keep my first company alive. She refused. Treatments that would interfere with her ability to help me with investor calls. A hush had fallen over the room. Even Victoria seemed genuinely moved. My mother taught me the most important lesson in business and in life, Elias said. True value isn't in what you own or how exclusive your possessions are. It's in what you contribute, how you make life better for others. He gestured to the display cases around the room. What you've been looking at tonight aren't just luxury items. They're solutions disguised as status symbols. With a gesture, he brought up technical specifications on the screen. The handbag contains a water filtration system that can provide clean drinking water for a family of 4 for 5 years. The watch includes solar cells that can charge medical devices in remote areas. The scarf has embedded educational technology that can teach reading in regions without schools. Gasps and murmurs spread through the crowd as people return to the displays with new understanding. The pin that Zara is wearing, Elias continued, nodding toward her, contains enough technology to purify thousands of liters of contaminated water. It's beautiful, yes, but it's also functional. Zara touched the pin in wonder, suddenly understanding its unusual weight. For years, my team has been developing these technologies, Elias explained. The challenge has always been making them affordable enough for global impact. We can create amazing solutions, but if they cost too much, they remain out of reach for those who need them most. He paused, looking directly at Victoria now. That's where Lux Eternel comes in. Victoria straightened, clearly surprised to hear. The store's name. Your customers already pay premium prices for exclusivity, Elias said. What if that premium also funded distribution of these technologies to communities in need? What if luxury could have purpose beyond status? The concept hung in the air, radical yet somehow obvious. A new definition of value that merged exclusivity with impact. I'm not here for revenge or public shaming, Elias concluded. I'm here to propose a partnership. Lux Eternel would be the exclusive retailer for a new line we're calling Luxury with Purpose. Each purchase funds distribution of the same technology in communities that need it most. He gestured to Joaquin, who stepped forward. My foundation already has the infrastructure to implement this in 70 countries, Joaquin explained. We just need the funding model to scale it, and the luxury market provides exactly that. As Joaquin continued with details, Zara glanced at Victoria. The director's expression had transformed from defensive caution to genuine interest. She was already calculating the possibilities, the press, the prestige, the purpose. Maria slipped her hand into Zara's and squeezed gently. This is what he does, she whispered. He turns problems into possibilities. Always has. Zara smiled, suddenly, understanding why Elias had invited everyone, not just management. This wasn't about humiliation or revenge. It was about transformation. When Elias finished speaking, the room remained silent for several heartbeats. It was Victoria who finally stepped forward. "Mr. Grayson," she said, her voice carrying across, "the atrium. This is unexpected." Elias smiled slightly. "I imagine you prepared for something quite different tonight." "We did," Victoria admitted. "But I have questions about this proposal." "Of course. Your technology is impressive, but our clients expect a certain aesthetic. They pay for beauty, craftsmanship, heritage." Elias nodded to one of his team members, who opened a display case and brought over the bracelet Zara had been admiring. He handed it to Victoria. "Tell me what you see," Elias said. Victoria examined the piece, turning it over in her hands. "The craftsmanship is exquisite. The design is innovative, yet timeless." Her eyebrows rose slightly. "This wouldn't look out of place in our store." "That's intentional," Elias explained. "We've partnered with designers who understand luxury markets. Beauty and function don't have to be enemies." Victoria handed the bracelet back, her expression thoughtful. "And the pricing structure?" "Comparable to your current luxury items," Joaquin replied. "The difference is in where the profit goes. Instead of simply generating shareholder value, it funds distribution of the same technology to communities in need." As the conversation continued, Zara noticed Maria slipping away from the crowd. Curious, she followed her to a quiet corner of the atrium where a small display stood separate from the others. Unlike the other cases which contained jewelry or accessories, this one held what appeared to be framed photographs. Maria stood before them, her expression soft with memory. "Mrs. Grayson." Zara approached tentatively. "Are you all right?" Maria turned with a gentle smile. "Just taking a moment with some old memories. And please, call me Maria." Zara moved closer to see the photos. They showed a much younger Maria teaching in what looked like a makeshift classroom in a developing country. "Kenya, 1978, Maria explained. "Before Elias was born. I taught at a rural school for 2 years." "I didn't know you were a teacher," Zara said. "There's a lot people don't know about me," Maria replied. "They see billionaire's mother and think that's my whole story." She pointed to another photo. "This was taken after a nearby river flooded. We had no clean water for weeks. Children died from preventable illnesses." Zara felt a chill despite the warm room. "Is that why Elias focuses on water filtration technology?" "He grew up hearing my stories," Maria nodded. "I think they affected him more than I realized." Their conversation was interrupted as Elias approached, concern crossing his face when he saw the photos. "Mom, I didn't mean to make you sad." Maria shook her head. "Not sad, proud." She touched his cheek gently. "You remembered what matters." Elias looked almost boyish for a moment under his mother's approval. Then, collecting himself, he addressed the room again. "I'd like to share one more thing before we continue discussions." The screen flickered to life once more, showing newspaper clippings and old photographs, the story of Elias and his mother that few had ever heard. "When I was 12, he began, Mom took me to volunteer at a shelter. I was angry about it. I wanted to play video games, not serve soup to strangers." He clicked to the next image. Young Elias reluctantly handing out food. "I complained the whole way there." Mom listened patiently, then said something I never forgot. "Elias, we don't give to others because they deserve it. We give because of who it helps us become." The room was utterly silent now, every person hanging on his words. That day, I met a man who had lost everything in a house fire. He had been an engineer before bad luck, and worse health took his career. He spent 3 hours teaching me concepts I'd been struggling with in school. Elias's voice softened. Mom knew what she was doing. She wasn't just teaching me compassion. She was showing me that value exists everywhere, often where we least expect it. He turned to the Lux Eternel employees. Your store operates on a simple principle. Exclusivity creates value. The harder something is to obtain, the more people want it. Several heads nodded in agreement. But what if we expanded that definition? What if luxury could be exclusive and impactful? What if the true status symbol wasn't just what you owned, but what good it accomplished? Victoria stepped forward again. It's a compelling vision, Mr. Grayson. But ultimately, we answer to our parent company. They might not share your idealism. I anticipated that, Elias replied, which is why I've already spoken with them. They're intrigued by the potential for positive press and a new market segment. But they want to see buy-in from store leadership first. Victoria's eyes widened slightly at being outmaneuvered. You've been busy. I believe in preparation, Elias said simply. As the conversation shifted to logistics and implementation details, Zara found herself drawn back to the display of Maria's photographs. There was one she hadn't noticed before, Maria holding infant Elias while typing on an early computer. Papers spread around her. She was writing her thesis, came a voice beside her. Zara turned to find Joaquin. While raising Elias alone and working part-time, she got her degree when he was 3. She's remarkable, Zara said. That's why this matters so much to him, Joaquin explained. It was never about the store rejecting his mother. It was about a system that fails to recognize true value. Across the room, Victoria was now engaged in animated conversation with Elias and several of his team members. Her initial skepticism had transformed into calculated interest. Will they actually do it? Zara asked. Partner with you on this? Joaquin smiled. Victoria Wells recognizes a golden opportunity when she sees one. And this is solid gold. First mover advantage in a whole new category of luxury. As if to confirm his words, Victoria was now shaking Elias's hand. Her expression transformed from the defensive anxiety of earlier to something approaching excitement. Maria rejoined them, watching her son with quiet pride. He always did see possibilities where others saw problems. Like mother, like son, Zara said. Maria smiled at that. Perhaps, though I never had his resources or reach. But you gave him something more valuable, Joaquin said. You gave him perspective. As the evening wound down, Zara realized something important had shifted. Not just for Lux Eternel, but perhaps for her too. She had entered this room expecting drama and conflict. Instead, she had witnessed the birth of a possibility. As the evening drew to a close, Elias guided everyone to a section of the atrium that had remained curtained off until now. With a nod to his team, the curtains parted to reveal a mock-up of a Lux Eternel storefront, reimagined with the luxury with purpose concept. The familiar, elegant aesthetic remained, but subtle differences were evident. Display cards beside. Each item told 2 stories, the craftsmanship behind the piece and the impact it would have. Digital screens showed the communities that would benefit. The overall effect was both exclusive and meaningful, luxury with a soul. This, Elias said, is what I'm proposing. Not just a few special items or a limited charitable collection, but a complete reimagining of what luxury means in the modern world. Victoria circled the mock-up slowly, her trained eye taking in every detail. The aesthetic integration is impressive, she admitted. But this would require a significant shift in how we train our sales staff. They're experts in heritage, materials, and craftsmanship, not global development. That's part of the challenge, Elias agreed, and the opportunity. Imagine sales associates who can speak not just about the artisan who crafted a piece, but about the lives it will transform. He gestured to Zara. Some of your team already understand the power of human connection. They know luxury isn't just about the object. It's about the story, the meaning, the way it makes people feel. Zara felt her cheeks warm as heads turned in her direction. I'm offering Lux Eternel first opportunity at this partnership, Elias continued. Exclusive rights for the first year. After that, we'll open it to other luxury retailers. Victoria's eyebrows rose slightly. First opportunity? Not the only opportunity? I'm a businessman, Ms. Wells, Elias replied evenly. If Lux Eternel isn't interested, others will be. But given recent events, I thought you might appreciate the chance to transform a potential PR problem into a leadership position. The subtle reference to Maria's rejection hung in the air for a moment. You're offering us a chance to save face, Victoria said bluntly. I'm offering you a chance to create something revolutionary, Elias corrected. The PR benefit is just a bonus. Victoria glanced around at her team, many of whom were still examining the mock-up with obvious interest. When would you expect an answer? 2 weeks, Elias said. Enough time for proper consideration, but not so long that we lose momentum. He stepped forward, extending his hand. Do we have a preliminary agreement to explore this further? Victoria hesitated only briefly before shaking his hand. We do. I'll need to present this to our executive team, of course, but she allowed herself a small smile. I believe they'll be interested. A ripple of excitement moved through the Lux Eternel employees. This was not the outcome any of them had expected when they received their invitations. As the formal part of the evening concluded and people began to mingle more casually, Zara found herself approached by Victoria. You've made quite an impression, the director said, nodding toward where Elias and Maria were speaking with Joaquin. On both Graysons. I just did what anyone should have done, Zara replied. Victoria studied her thoughtfully. No, you didn't. That's precisely the point. She paused. If this partnership moves forward, we'll need someone to lead it from our side. Someone who understands both luxury retail and authentic human connection. Zara's eyes widened as she realized what Victoria was suggesting. Me? But I'm just a sales associate. I don't have the experience or... Experience can be gained, Victoria interrupted. Character is inherent. She glanced toward Maria. I think Mrs. Grayson would agree with that assessment. Before Zara could respond, Elias stepped onto the platform one last time. Before you leave tonight, I have one final challenge for Lux Eternel, he announced. This isn't just about selling different products. It's about embracing a different philosophy. The room quieted again as he continued. For this to work, your team needs to understand the communities you'll be helping. Not as abstract concepts or marketing points, but as real people with real lives. He nodded to Joaquin, who stepped forward. My foundation runs immersion programs in the communities we serve, Joaquin explained. We invite Lux Eternel to send a team, not just executives, but people from every level of your organization, to see firsthand the impact this partnership could have. Victoria looked startled. You want us to send our sales staff to developing countries? I want your entire team to understand what they're really selling, Elias clarified. Luxury has always been about stories, the heritage of a brand, the journey of a material, the craftsmanship of an artisan. We're adding a new chapter to that story. He gestured to the mock-up storefront. This only works if it's authentic. Your customers will know the difference between a marketing gimmick and a genuine commitment. Victoria was quiet for a moment, calculating. Then, to everyone's surprise, she turned to her team. Who would be willing to participate in such a program? Hands rose throughout the room, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. Mei Zhu shot up immediately. So did the hands of several other sales associates, the visual merchandising team, even some of the security staff. Victoria turned back to Elias, something like respect in her eyes. "It seems my team is ready for your challenge, Mr. Grayson." "Excellent," Elias replied. "Joaquin will coordinate the details." As the formal event concluded and guests began to depart, Zara found herself invited to stay for a more private conversation with Elias, Maria, Joaquin, and Victoria. "The five of us," Elias said once they were seated in a comfortable lounge area, "will be the core team for this initiative, if that's agreeable to everyone." Victoria looked at Zara with new assessment in her eyes. Ms. Okafor would need a significant promotion. "I'm confident she can handle it," Maria said simply. Zara felt overwhelmed. Just days ago, she had been an ordinary sales associate. Now she was sitting with one of the world's most innovative billionaires, discussing a partnership that could transform an industry. "Why me?" she finally asked. "There are people at Lux Eternel with more experience, more qualifications." "Because you saw my mother as a person, not a potential commission or a PR problem," Elias replied. "That's the essence of what we're trying to create. A luxury experience that recognizes the humanity in everyone." Victoria cleared her throat. "I owe you an apology, Mrs. Grayson. What happened at our store was unacceptable." Maria waved a hand dismissively. "Water under the bridge." "No," Victoria insisted. "It reflects a culture I've allowed to develop. One that judges people by appearances and treats exclusivity as more important than decency." She straightened her shoulders. "If we move forward with this partnership, that culture will change. You have my word." Maria studied Victoria for a moment, then nodded. "I believe you mean that." As the conversation turned to logistics and next steps, Zara found herself sitting back, taking it all in. The challenge ahead was enormous, convincing luxury customers that impact could be as valuable as exclusivity, training staff to tell new kinds of stories, building authentic connections with communities half a world away. Yet looking around the table, at Elias's innovative vision, Maria's grounded wisdom, Victoria's strategic mind, and Joaquin's practical experience, she felt a surge of excitement. This wasn't just about redeeming a moment of rejection. It was about redefining value itself. And somehow, Zara had found herself at the center of it all, not because she had sought attention or recognition, but because she had done the simplest, most human thing. She had seen someone's dignity when others had missed it. As the meeting concluded and they prepared to leave, Maria took Zara's hands in hers. "Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can trigger the biggest changes," she said softly. "Never underestimate what a moment of human connection can do." Zara squeezed the older woman's hands gently. "I'm beginning to understand that." In the weeks that followed, Lux Eternel underwent a metamorphosis unlike anything in its storied history. The store remained open, but behind the scenes, everything was changing. Zara arrived early one morning to find the staff gathered in the conference room. A large screen displayed a live video feed from a village in Ethiopia where Joaquin was overseeing the installation of water filtration systems, the same technology embedded in the silver droplet jewelry line. "Good morning from Abeke village," Joaquin greeted them, his face slightly pixelated on the screen. "I have someone here who wants to show you something." A young woman stepped into frame, shyly holding up a glass of clear water. "This comes from our river now," she explained in careful English. "Before, it made our children sick. Now it is clean." Victoria, standing at the front of the room, turned to address her team. "This is what we're selling now," she said simply. "Not just beautiful objects, but beautiful change." The training had begun in earnest. Product knowledge now included understanding the technology behind each piece and the specific impact it would have. Sales associates studied maps, learned about water scarcity, energy poverty, and educational gaps. They practiced telling these stories alongside the traditional luxury narratives of craftsmanship and heritage. For Zara, life had transformed almost overnight. Her new title, Director of Purpose Initiatives, came with an office, a significant raise, and a direct line to Victoria and Elias. 3 days a week, she worked at Grayson Technologies, collaborating with designers and engineers to ensure the technology didn't compromise the aesthetic luxury customers expected. "The clasp is still too bulky," she said during one design meeting, examining a necklace prototype. "Our clients will notice immediately. Can we minimize this component?" The engineer looked skeptical. "That houses the main filtration catalyst. If we reduce it much more, efficiency drops." "What if we integrate it into the design as a feature, rather than trying to hide it?" Zara suggested. "Make it a focal point, something unique to the line?" The team had been hesitant at first, doubtful that a former sales associate could contribute meaningfully to technical discussions. But Zara's understanding of luxury customers, their expectations, their language, their unstated desires, proved invaluable. Meanwhile, Victoria had transformed too. The director who once judged people by their appearance now led the first team of Luxe Eternel employees on a field visit to Joaquin's foundation sites. She returned with soil on her Louboutins and fire in her eyes. "Our first marketing campaign needs to center the people, not the products," she insisted at a planning meeting. "I want our customers to see Halima's face when she accessed online. Education for the first time. I want them to feel what I felt." The store itself underwent physical changes too. Subtle lighting adjustments highlighted the dual nature of each piece. New displays incorporated discrete screens showing real-time impact data. A massive map in the center of the store lit up with tiny lights showing where each technology was being deployed. Not everything went smoothly. Some longtime employees resisted the changes, uncomfortable with selling social impact alongside luxury. A few veteran clients expressed skepticism when presented with the new narrative. "I don't shop here to save the world," one regular customer complained. "I shop here for beautiful things that make me feel special." Zara, overhearing, approached gently. "Ms. Chen, that beautiful bracelet you're considering, it's still the exquisite piece you've come to expect from us. But now, it also has a story that makes it unique. You'd be one of the first people in the world to own a piece that's both stunning and significant." The appeal to exclusivity, being first, being unique, resonated where appeals to altruism might have fallen flat. Maria became a regular presence at the store, not as Elias's mother, but as an advisor and storyteller. She had a gift for connecting with skeptical clients, sharing her experiences from Kenya in ways that felt personal rather than preachy. "I remember a little girl named Nia," she told a gathering of VIP customers one evening. "Brilliant child. Could recite poetry she'd heard just once. But she missed school for weeks every time the rains came because she had to help her mother collect water. Imagine what she might have become with a fraction of the opportunities we take for granted. 6 weeks into the transformation, Zara arrived at work to find Elias waiting in her office, a newspaper in his hand. "Have you seen this?" he asked, handing it to her. The headline read, "Luxury Revolution: How One Store's Mistake Sparked Industry Change." The article detailed the Luxury with Purpose initiative, praising Lux Eternel for pioneering a new approach that blended exclusivity with impact. It mentioned the incident with Maria only briefly, focusing instead on the innovative partnership that had followed. "They're calling you a visionary," Zara remarked, looking up from the paper. Elias shook his head. "They're missing the point. This wasn't my vision alone." That evening, Lux Eternel hosted its first major event since the transformation, the preview of the complete Luxury with Purpose collection. The store gleamed with subtle new lighting, the displays arranged to tell a cohesive story of beauty and impact. Fashion editors, influencers, and VIP clients mingled with engineers from Grayson Technologies and field workers from Joaquin's Foundation. On one wall, a live feed showed communities using the technologies embedded in the very items being showcased. As Zara watched Victoria welcome guests with genuine enthusiasm, she felt a tap on her shoulder. Turning, she found Maria smiling at her. "Look at what you helped create," Maria said, gesturing around them. "Me? This was Elias's plan all along." Maria shook her head. "Elias had the resources and the idea. But you, dear girl, had the heart that showed him where to direct them." As if summoned by his name, Elias joined them, watching with satisfaction as a prominent fashion editor examined a bracelet while an engineer explained its technology. "It's working," he said quietly. "They're beginning to understand." 6 months after the first Luxury with Purpose collection launched, the transformation had exceeded even Elias's ambitious expectations. What began as a response to a moment of rejection had sparked a movement that was reshaping an entire industry. Lux Eternel's flagship store now had a waiting list for appointments, not because they artificially limited access, but because clients wanted the full experience of understanding each piece's impact. Sales had increased by 30%, with many customers buying multiple items once they connected with the mission. On a bright Tuesday morning, Zara arrived at the store to find it buzzing with activity. A film crew was setting up in the central atrium, while staff made final adjustments to displays. Today, they would host a live connection with 3 communities, benefiting from the technologies sold over the past months. "Everything ready?" Victoria asked, appearing beside Zara in an elegant suit that somehow looked both polished and approachable, much like Victoria herself these days. Almost. "The school in Guatemala is having some connection issues, but Joaquin's team is working on it." Victoria nodded, then lowered her voice. "Our competitors are scrambling. Cartier announced their own impact initiative yesterday. Tiffany's called me trying to poach you for a similar role." Zara smiled. "I heard. I declined." "Good." Victoria squeezed her arm briefly, because the next phase is even bigger. The next phase was already taking shape. Based on the success of the first collection, Elias and Victoria had signed an expanded partnership agreement. Lux Eternal would become the hub for a new luxury philosophy, with dedicated spaces in each store where customers could learn about global challenges and solutions. As the store opened for the day, Zara checked her phone to find a message from Elias. "Turn on the business news." She ducked into her office and pulled up the broadcast on her computer. The anchor was mid-sentence, marking the biggest shift in luxury retail in decades. The Luxury with Purpose model, pioneered by Lux Eternel and Grayson Technologies, has now been adopted by 3 major luxury conglomerates, with more expected to follow. The screen showed clips of other high-end boutiques unveiling their own impact-focused collections. None had the seamless integration of technology and beauty that Luxe Eternel had achieved, but they were clearly racing to catch up. Zara texted back to Elias, "Imitation is flattery?" His response came quickly. "Imitation is impact." This was always the goal. She smiled, remembering their conversations over the past months. Elias had never wanted Luxe Eternel to have a monopoly on this approach. His vision was larger, to fundamentally redefine what luxury meant in the modern world. By mid-morning, the store was filled with clients and media for the Live Connection event. 3 large screens had been set up, each showing a different location: a village in Kenya, where water filtration systems had been installed, a school in Guatemala receiving educational technology, and a medical clinic in Bangladesh, powered by the solar technology embedded in the watch collection. As the connections went live, real people appeared on the screens, not carefully scripted testimonials, but genuine conversations. A Kenyan grandmother described how her grandchildren no longer suffered from waterborne illnesses. A Guatemalan teacher showed students using tablets loaded with interactive learning programs. A Bangladeshi doctor demonstrated how reliable power had improved their ability to store vaccines and medications. The clients watched, many visibly moved. One woman touched the bracelet on her wrist, seeing with new eyes how its twin was changing lives halfway across the world. "This is what we mean by luxury with purpose," Victoria explained to the gathered crowd. "Not charity as an afterthought, but impact designed into every piece from conception." Among the crowd, Zara spotted a familiar silver bob. Maria had arrived, quietly standing at the back, watching with obvious pride. Beside her was Thomas, the doorman who had turned her away that fateful day. After being fired by Luxe Eternel, he had been hired by Joaquin's foundation, where his security background proved valuable for their field operations. Life had come full circle in unexpected ways. After the event, luxury fashion blogs and business publications exploded with coverage. Sales inquiries doubled overnight. Competitor brands rushed to announce their own purpose-driven initiatives, some substantive, others clearly superficial attempts to catch the wave. "The difference will show in time," Elias said during a strategy meeting later that week. "Authentic purpose can't be faked long-term." The most significant validation came not from sales figures or media coverage, but from the communities themselves. Joaquin reported that water-related illness rates had dropped 60% in partner villages. Students with access to the educational technology showed marked improvement in literacy and math skills. Solar power had enabled clinics to extend their hours and services. One evening, as Zara worked late finalizing plans for the next collection, she received an unexpected visitor. Victoria entered her office with an uncharacteristically tentative expression. "Do you have a moment?" she asked. "Of course," Zara replied, curious at her boss's unusual demeanor. Victoria sat down, choosing her words carefully. 6 months ago, I was focused entirely on exclusivity and appearance. I judged people, including Maria Grayson, based on whether they fit our narrow definition of luxury. She looked directly at Zara. "I was wrong, and I want to thank you for showing me a better way." Zara was touched by the humble admission from the once intimidating director. "We've all grown through this process." "Yes, but you saw the truth from the beginning," Victoria said. "You recognized Maria's dignity when the rest of us missed it." She placed a small box on Zara's desk. "The board has approved a new position, Global Impact Officer. They want you to take it." Zara opened the box to find a silver pin identical to the one Elias had given her months ago. Attached was a card that read, for those who see value where others don't. Outside Zara's window, evening lights illuminated the city. Somewhere in that glittering landscape, a chance encounter had sparked a chain of events that now touched lives across continents. A rejection transformed into connection. Exclusivity evolved into impact. And it had all begun with a simple act of seeing someone's worth. 1 year to the day after Mariah Grayson had been turned away from Lux Eternel, the store prepared for its most significant event yet. The grand atrium had been transformed into an elegant venue for the Purpose Gala, celebrating the millionth device distributed through the partnership. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over displays charting the initiative's growth. Digital screens showed maps with glowing dots representing each community impacted. A special exhibit honored the first-hand experiences of Lux Eternal staff who had participated in field visits. Zara stood at the center of it all, barely recognizing her life from a year ago. As Global Impact Officer, she now led a team of 20 people dedicated to expanding the program. Her small apartment had been traded for a comfortable condo closer to the office. Offices, really, since she split her time between Lux Eternel and Grayson Technologies. Nervous? May asked, approaching in an elegant dress that complemented her new role as Impact Training Manager. A little, Zara admitted. It's a big night. And a big speech, May added, nudging her gently. First time addressing the luxury world's elite. Zara had been surprised when Victoria asked her to deliver one of the evening's keynote addresses. Shouldn't Elias or you be the face of this? She had asked. This began with human connection, your connection with Maria. Victoria had replied, that story needs to be told by you. Now, watching the venue fill with fashion editors, industry executives, celebrities, and social impact leaders, Zara felt the weight of that responsibility. The guest list was a who's who of global influence. 3 major fashion houses had sent their creative directors. Tech leaders mingled with sustainability experts. Government officials chatted with activists. The worlds of luxury and impact, once separate, were converging in this room. Victoria appeared at Zara's side, resplendent in a gown from the newest collection. The dress featured subtle solar cells embedded in its embroidery, beautiful and functional. Elias just called, Victoria said, checking her phone. His flight was delayed. He's still at the airport but promises to be here before the main ceremony. Zara nodded, trying to hide her disappointment. Elias had been traveling constantly these past months, bringing the model to potential partners worldwide. What about Maria? She asked. Already here, in the VIP lounge. As the official program began, Joaquin took the stage to welcome guests and share impact statistics. The numbers were staggering. Clean water for over 300,000 people, educational technology reaching 250,000 students, solar power for 125 medical facilities. But numbers only tell part of the story, he concluded. Tonight is about the human connection at the heart of this initiative. A series of short films followed, featuring store employees and their experiences visiting partner communities. May tearfully described teaching art to children in Guatemala. Roberto, once a skeptical sales manager, spoke passionately about helping install water systems in Kenya. Victoria's turn came next. She stood poised and confident before the crowd. A year ago, Lux Eternel made a mistake, she began frankly. We judged someone by appearance rather than character. We upheld exclusivity at the expense of human dignity. The room was silent, captivated by this unusual corporate honesty. That mistake could have become a PR crisis. Instead, Thanks to the vision of Elias Grayson and the compassion of his mother Maria, it became a transformation opportunity. Victoria detailed the business results: sales increases, customer loyalty, global recognition, and how the initiative had attracted top talent to the company. But the true luxury, she concluded, has been the privilege of purpose, of knowing our work matters beyond quarterly reports and fashion trends. When it was Zara's turn to speak, she felt surprisingly calm. She told the story simply, seeing. Maria turned away, recognizing her from a magazine, following her to apologize. "I didn't do anything extraordinary," she explained. "I just saw someone's dignity when others missed it. The extraordinary part came after, when the Graysons chose creativity over confrontation, possibility over punishment." As Zara concluded her speech, she looked toward the wings, expecting to see Elias finally arriving for his keynote address. Instead, an assistant hurried on stage and whispered something to Joaquin, whose face fell slightly before he composed himself. Joaquin approached the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, I've just received word that Elias Grayson's flight has been further delayed. He sends his deepest regrets and asks for your understanding." A murmur of disappointment rippled through the crowd. Elias was the star they had come to see, the visionary behind it all. Joaquin continued smoothly. "However, we are honored that Maria Grayson has agreed to speak in his place." The audience applauded politely as Maria made her way to the stage. At 75, she moved with the same quiet dignity that had impressed Zara from their first meeting. She wore a simple blue dress, adorned with a collection of the water droplet pins, each representing a community with clean water access. "Good evening," Maria began, her voice warm but strong. "I'm sorry my son couldn't be here tonight. He was quite looking forward to it." She paused, looking out at the expectant faces. "Actually, that's not entirely true," she said with a small smile. "Elias hates public speaking. He's probably relieved his flight was delayed." Gentle laughter rippled through the audience, breaking the tension. "I'm not a businesswoman or a technologist," Maria continued. "I can't dazzle you with market projections or engineering specifications, but I can tell you about the power of seeing people, truly seeing them, in a world that often looks past those who don't fit certain expectations." As Maria spoke, her quiet words carried more impact than any polished corporate presentation. She shared stories from her teaching days in Kenya, from raising Elias as a single mother, from her own experiences being overlooked or underestimated. The greatest luxury, she concluded, is not what we possess, but how we see each other. Everything else, the beautiful objects, the exclusive experiences, these are just tools for expressing that vision. The audience rose in a standing ovation as Maria finished speaking. Even the most jaded fashion editors and luxury executives seemed moved by her authenticity. As the formal program concluded and the celebration continued, no one noticed the absence of Elias Grayson anymore. His mother had captured the essence of the movement more powerfully than any corporate visionary could have. And in that unexpected moment, the true heart of the transformation revealed itself. After the formal speeches concluded, the gala transformed into a celebration. Champagne flowed, conversations buzzed, and connections formed between people from worlds that rarely intersected. Fashion icons chatted with engineers. Celebrities posed for photos with community organizers from villages half a world away. Maria Grayson, having delivered her unexpected keynote, found a quiet corner away from the spotlight. Zara noticed her slipping out to a small balcony overlooking the city and followed. "That was beautiful," Zara said, joining the older woman in the cool evening air. You captured everything we've been trying to express this past year. Maria smiled, her eyes reflecting the city lights. Thank you, dear, though I suspect Elias's speech would have included more impressive statistics. Where is he, really? Zara asked gently. His flight delay. That wasn't true, was it? Maria's smile faded slightly. No, he's at the hospital with me. Or rather, I should be there with him. I insisted on coming tonight while he stayed for my test results. Test results? Zara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the evening breeze. Maria turned to face her fully. Zara, there's something I never told anyone, not even Elias until recently. Something about that day you first saw me at Lux Eternelle. She took a deep breath. I wasn't there to buy a graduation gift for my granddaughter. You weren't? Maria shook her head. That morning, I had received some troubling news from my doctor. Suspicious findings that needed further testing. Her voice remained steady, but her hands gripped the balcony railing tightly. They suspected cancer had returned. My third bout. Zara felt her heart constrict. Oh, Maria. I was in shock, Maria continued. I'd come to New York for a routine checkup and suddenly faced the possibility of another fight for my life. I wandered the streets for hours, trying to process it all. She looked out at the city skyline. When I found myself in front of Lux Eternelle, I had a strange impulse. I wanted to buy something beautiful to wear when I told Elias the news in person. Something that would make me feel strong, dignified. So he would see his mother, not just a patient. Zara felt tears prickling at her eyes. But then I was turned away. Maria nodded. In that moment, it felt like the universe confirming my worst fears, that I was diminished somehow, less valuable. She turned to Zara with a gentle smile. But then a young woman saw me, truly saw me. She followed me, sought me out the next day, treated me with genuine kindness. Understanding dawned on Zara. That's why you seemed so moved when I apologized. It wasn't just about being turned away from a store. Your kindness gave me strength, Maria said simply, more than you could have known. And then Elias transformed the whole experience into something so much bigger than either of us expected. What happened with your tests? Zara asked, almost afraid to hear the answer. Maria's face softened. The initial findings were confirmed. Stage 2 breast cancer. My third occurrence. I started treatment immediately. Zara felt her heart sink. I had no idea you were going through this all year. I didn't want anyone to know, Maria explained. This partnership, this movement, it gave me purpose during the darkest days of treatment. Watching its success, seeing communities transformed, it became my focus instead of the illness. She straightened her shoulders. And tonight, I received the news. My latest scans show no evidence of disease. I'm in remission. Zara let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. That's why Elias isn't here. He's getting the results. Maria nodded. He insisted on being there for the appointment, though I told him this gala was more important. The balcony door opened behind them, and they turned to find Victoria. Sorry to interrupt, she said, but Elias is on video call for Maria. He says it's urgent. They followed Victoria to a private office, where a large screen showed Elias's face, his eyes bright with emotion. Mom, he said when he saw Maria. The doctor just reviewed everything. The treatment worked. You're clear. Though Maria had already shared this news with Zara, seeing her son's joy brought fresh tears to her eyes. I know, sweetheart. I called for the results before I left. Elias laughed. shaking his head. "Of course you did. Always one step ahead of me." His expression grew more serious. "Did you tell them about that day?" Maria nodded. "Zara knows now. But I think it's time everyone understood the full story." When they returned to the gala, Maria stepped back onto the stage. The room quieted immediately. "Friends," she began, "there's one more piece to this story you should know." With quiet dignity, she revealed the truth. How her rejection at the store had come on the heels of a devastating diagnosis. How Zara's kindness had given her strength. How the partnership had provided purpose during her treatment. "Today," she concluded, "I received news that I'm in remission, and I credit not just my medical team, but the purpose this past year has given me. Sometimes, the things that heal us aren't just medicines, but meaning." As Maria finished speaking, the screen behind her lit up with Elias's face, broadcasting live from the hospital where he'd been meeting with her doctors. "My mother never told me why she was really at that store until her condition worsened months into her treatment," he explained, his voice thick with emotion. "She didn't want her illness to overshadow what we were building. That's the kind of woman she is, always thinking beyond herself." He looked directly into the camera. "What began as my attempt to right a wrong done to my mother became her source of strength during the fight of her life. And in the process, it's changing thousands of other lives too." As the gala concluded, guests departed with a deeper understanding of the movement they had witnessed. It wasn't just about luxury with purpose or technology with impact. It was about seeing the worth in each person, especially when they couldn't see it in themselves. And that, perhaps, was the greatest transformation of all. That was the end of this story. Where are you listening from today? If you enjoyed this tale of transformation and kindness, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories just like this one. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and family to help spread kindness and awareness. Every small act of compassion, just like Zara's in our story, has the power to create remarkable change in the world around us.